Reminder, the Turkish drama on Disney Plus just made its first major misstep by introducing an overused trope that risks derailing the series. And I'm definitely not happy about it. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Just Dizis. My name is Marjani, and in this podcast, I'm recapping episodes 3 and 4 of Reminder, the new Turkish series on Disney Plus starring Hande Erçel and Barış Arduç. Now, if you missed my previous recaps of episodes 1 and 2, I highly recommend checking those out first. You'll find the links in the description down below. And as always, full spoilers ahead. All right, let's get started. Episode 3 opens with a major tease that left me blushing. We're treated to another steamy makeout between Güneş and Deniz on the plane to Cappadocia. It's passionate, it's sexy, and if I wasn't so caught up in the visuals, I probably would have realized sooner that it wasn't actually happening. Turns out the whole scene was just Ozgun's imagination, her fantasy of what she hoped was going down after Deniz surprised Güneş by joining her on the flight. In reality, Deniz spends most of the flight sleeping and simply tells Güneş she came to help her secure tuition money for her sister. So, definitely not the romantic fireworks Ozgun was envisioning. And speaking of Ozgun, we learned that she and Hakan were behind Baran's disappearance at the airport in the last episode. They concocted a whole scheme to prevent Baran from joining Güneş in Cappadocia. And Hakan literally stole Baran's phone and boarding pass after pretending to accidentally bump into him. It was hilarious and totally on brand for these meddling besties who secretly like each other. When Güneş and Deniz meet the estate lawyer, there's a visible awkwardness between them as they try to present themselves as a loving couple. The lawyer immediately picks up on the lack of affection between them, which prompts Güneş to awkwardly grab Deniz's hand. But both of them still look uncomfortable doing it. The lawyer explains that Mesude, the woman who left them the house, was a woefy and eccentric loner. She also left a heartfelt letter for Güneş, praising her for inspiring others to love. And Mesude requests as her dying wish for Güneş and Deniz to complete a series of romantic activities around Cappadocia, with each milestone unlocking another letter from her. Now, Deniz isn't thrilled about this. He was expecting a quick signing of documents, not a romantic scavenger hunt, but Güneş was clearly moved by Mesude's letter and insisted on honoring her final wishes. So for pretty much the rest of the episode, we see Güneş and Deniz share romantic moments together set against the gorgeous landscape in Cappadocia. We see them take a pottery sculpting class, go sightseeing, and take a hot air balloon ride. And the cinematography was beautiful. It was the perfect setting for Güneş and Deniz to emotionally reconnect. As the day unfolds, the awkwardness between them begins to ease, and you could see the walls they kept up initially start to come down. And by the time they hit the dance floor at a local nightclub, it's clear they slipped back into the rhythm of their old relationship. Now, I have to say, this dance scene did feel a little out of place for me, but the dance is flirty and a lot of fun, especially when Deniz lifts Güneş up dirty dancing style. So I just went along for the ride. When Güneş asked Deniz why he initiated the dance, he brushes it off, saying it was all just to sell the illusion of a loving couple to the lawyer. But Güneş isn't buying it. She calls him out, and rightly so, because nobody needs to reenact an 80s film just to prove they're in love. After the club, Güneş asks Deniz to stay up and watch the sunrise with her. And what we get next is a beautiful scene of the two of them sitting quietly side by side, smiling and stealing soft glances at each other. And then Deniz finally admits he listened to Güneş's podcast and that he really liked her commentary on love. Güneş is really touched by this since it's the first time Deniz has shown genuine appreciation for her work. And in turn, Güneş admits she was genuinely happy he came to Cappadocia with her. When Deniz asks if someone's waiting for her back home, she quietly says she's waiting to part ways with someone, clearly referencing Baran. But Deniz doesn't push her for any details. For the first time, they're talking about their relationship without arguing. But the moment doesn't last because Baran calls Güneş and Deniz sees his name on Güneş's phone, and he immediately shuts down and walks away. Güneş doesn't answer Baran's call, and she instead follows Deniz, calling after him as he retreats back to the hotel. But Deniz claims he's too tired to talk now and just goes back to his room. And just as Güneş is about to go inside the hotel, she stops because there, standing at the hotel entrance, is Baran. And the episode ends with Güneş staring in shock and panic. Now, this episode definitely moved at a slower pace than the first two, but that slower rhythm was necessary. We finally got to see Güneş and Deniz enjoy each other's company in a way we hadn't seen before, at least not in the present day. Up until this point, they've mostly been caught up in arguments and misunderstandings, but here we saw glimpses of who they are at their best. I especially appreciated the restraint in the performances from both Hande and Barış. They didn't overplay the emotion. Instead, they gave grounded performances, showing us the tenderness of exes who still love each other, but at the same time are still struggling to trust again. In retrospect, though, I feel episode 3 gave us a moment to breathe because episode 4 gets really messy and not in a good way. Now, on to episode 4. Oh boy. This episode really upended all the progress between Güneş and Deniz from the prior episodes, and in 2 very frustrating ways. The episode opens with Güneş and Baran waking up in the house Mesude left her. It's really a clever solution on Güneş's part for keeping Baran and Deniz from running into each other. Güneş manages to keep Baran out of the picture completely for the rest of the day by telling him that she's already handling the sale of the house on her own with Pervin's help because Pervin is now romantically involved with a lawyer managing Mesude's estate. After ditching Baran, Güneş joins Deniz at a wine cellar, which is one of Mesude's requested activities. But when they get accidentally locked inside, Güneş starts to panic, fearing that the lawyer might discover Baran in the house and blow their cover. While stuck together, Güneş asks Deniz if he still doesn't trust her, but he dodges the question by asking how they can have trust in their relationship when social media and public perception seem to matter more for her. Güneş pushes back hard, reminding him that every relationship has its ups and downs, but he walked away from theirs after just one mistake, like the relationship meant nothing to him. And the argument just escalates from there. Güneş accuses Deniz of never fighting for the relationship, but Deniz counters that he's literally in Cappadocia, putting his career on hold to help her get her sister's tuition money. But Güneş isn't convinced and presses him for the real reason why he's there with her. And at this point, Deniz hesitates and then leans in closer to her for a kiss. But just before their lips could touch, a group of tourists open the cellar door and interrupts the moment. Meanwhile, Baran, completely ignoring Güneş's instructions to lay low, shows up at her hotel with a bouquet of flowers and asks the concierge to deliver it to her hotel room. But then the camera pans to none other than Umay, sitting in the hotel lobby, overhearing everything, including Güneş's room number. And she decides to go full psycho stalker by sneaking into Güneş's room to snoop through her private things. But we don't find out what she leaves behind for Güneş until later in the episode. Now, back to Deniz and Güneş. After escaping the wine cellar, they head off for some horseback riding, which quickly turns into yet another argument. It seems Güneş is feeling overwhelmed. She's under pressure from Pervin to deliver an article. She's reading heartfelt letters from Mesude, and she's feeling like a fraud for faking this big love story while being praised for authentically inspiring it. So she lashes out at Deniz because she's frustrated that Deniz still doesn't trust her and is keeping his guard up emotionally. Deniz, in turn, is upset that Güneş is asking for trust when she was just posting Mr. Alpha photos with another man, which, let's not forget, is a fair point. Güneş still hasn't told him about Baran being in Cappadocia. Güneş then admits she wants to create her own love story, one she can write about. But Deniz then challenges her and asks if she wants to write a love story or live it with him. And at that point, Deniz immediately shuts down the conversation and insists they sign the legal papers to sell the house and end this game. Now, I have to say, these arguments between Güneş and Deniz are starting to feel repetitive. We're already halfway through the season, and they've both been repeating the exact same points almost every episode so far. The show really needs some fresh storylines to shake up their dynamic. But unfortunately, the twist we get at the end of the episode is not the one I was hoping for. But more on that later. When Güneş and Deniz meet with the lawyer and Pervin to sign the power of attorney to sell the house, the mood is still tense from their prior argument. There's lingering anger, but also sadness between them, likely because they both know their time in Cappadocia is coming to an end and they'll have to separate again. After signing the papers, the lawyer invites Güneş and Deniz to a farewell dinner, to which they reluctantly agreed with Pervin's prodding. And then Güneş returns to her hotel room to find a gorgeous black cocktail dress laid out on her bed. She naturally assumes it's from Deniz, and she is thrilled. Her face lights up with a glowing smile as she tries on the dress. Now, I knew at this point that the dress was left for her by Umay, the psycho stalker, and not Deniz. But I didn't know yet what was Umay's full game plan here. I'm not going to lie, it did cross my mind that she might have poisoned the dress in some way, but thankfully it wasn't that diabolical. Next, we see Deniz already dressed for dinner as he goes to meet Umay. He, of course, questions why she's in Cappadocia and how she even found out where he was. Umay admits that she tracked his location through Güneş's social media posts and says she needs to speak with him. And when Deniz tells her it's none of her business that he's in Cappadocia with Güneş, She drops a bomb and tells him that Ganesh's boyfriend, that being Baran, is also in Cappadocia. Now, of course, Deniz is clearly shaken by this since Ganesh still hasn't mentioned Baran to him at all. But before Deniz can confront Ganesh about this, he sees her arrive at the restaurant wearing the black dress that Umay left in her hotel room. Ganesh thanks him for the thoughtful gift, but Deniz is stunned. He immediately mutters Umay under his breath and storms out of the restaurant. Now, Ganesh is of course confused and troubled by his reaction, but she sits down at the dinner table with the lawyer and Pervin. And while at the table, Ganesh pulls up Umay's social media page on her phone. And while scrolling through Umay's photos, she sees a picture of Umay wearing the exact same black dress. And the realization hits her hard. Now, I don't believe that Ganesh is fully aware at this point that this is all just a cruel setup by Umay and has nothing to do with Deniz, because Ganesh doesn't even know that Umay is in Cappadocia at the moment. Deniz didn't explain anything to her when he stormed out of the restaurant. But Ganesh, clearly heartbroken, quickly leaves the restaurant by telling Pervin and the lawyer that she's feeling unwell. And as she walks away, the lawyer mentions to Pervin that he never got a chance to share his surprise with Ganesh and Deniz, which is that Masude's house has already been sold. And, more importantly, that the buyer is planning to propose to his girlfriend there. Now, as he says this, we immediately cut to Ganesh arriving at Masude's house. She opens the door to find Baran lighting a lot of candles and preparing for a romantic dinner. And it all becomes clear. Baran is the buyer, and he's about to propose to Ganesh. But we don't get to see what happens after Ganesh opens the door, so we're just left with a lot of questions. Did Baran propose? And if so, did Ganesh say yes? Now, given Ganesh's emotional state at this point, I actually think there's a chance that she might accept his marriage proposal. Not because she loves Baran, but just out of pain and frustration with Deniz. She's tired of getting her heart wrecked by him. And by contrast, Baran just represents comfort, stability, and a safe place to land after all the emotional roller coaster with Deniz. But this whole setup seems icky to me. Baran owning the house and using it to propose to Ganesh just feels manipulative. And let's not forget, in episode 2, Ganesh was adamantly against accepting financial help from Deniz, even though she's desperate for the money to pay her sister's tuition. So I can't imagine she'd be okay with being financially beholden in any way to Baran, even if indirectly. But just when you think the drama's peaked, we get an even bigger twist. When Deniz goes to confront Umay about the stunt she pulled with the dress, and naturally accuses her of being the psycho stalker that she is, Umay delivers her own shocker. She's pregnant. And yeah, my jaw hit the floor. The look of shock on Deniz's face very much mirrored my own. I just couldn't believe that the show is going in this direction. Now, if you listen to my review of Uzak Shahir, another Turkish drama, then you know how much I despise this pregnancy trope. In my opinion, it's just lazy writing. It cheapens the emotional arc of the main couple and makes the male lead look careless and irresponsible. I mean, let's do some math here. Deniz and Ganesh broke up 6 months ago. That means he's only been with Umay for what, 3, maybe 4 months? And in that short time, he gets her pregnant? Based on his reaction, Deniz clearly believes he is the father, which means at some point he was having unprotected sex with Umay. But this is the same man who managed to not get Ganesh pregnant during their entire 2-year relationship, and he was madly in love with Ganesh. Yet, he's irresponsible with Umay, who, let's face it, is just a rebound relationship. It just doesn't add up. Maybe I'd feel differently if the show had made any effort to give Umay a proper backstory, but they haven't. We have no idea why Deniz even dated her to begin with. In fact, since the start of the show, I've not seen a single interaction between Deniz and Umay where Deniz didn't look either annoyed or just indifferent to her. He barely seems to like her most of the time. Now, in the final scene of the episode, Deniz and Umay are sitting next to each other on the plane as they make their way back to Istanbul. And then the camera pans to Ganesh and Baran sitting in another row on the exact same flight. Not a word is spoken between either couple, so we're left with many unanswered questions. Did Baran actually propose? Did Ganesh accept? Does she even know about Umay's pregnancy? Did Ganesh find out that it was Umay who left her the dress? Did Baran get upset when he found out about Deniz? I mean, so much left to unpack. But as you can probably tell, I'm frustrated with this new direction the show is taking. And don't get me wrong, the show definitely needed a shakeup and fresh storylines to build momentum and avoid spinning its wheels with the same repetitive arguments between Ganesh and Deniz. But this pregnancy twist feels unearned and sloppy. It wasn't built into the emotional fabric of the story, so it just felt dropped in purely for shock value. If the writers really wanted to give more emotional weight to this pregnancy storyline, They could have trimmed some of the flashbacks between Ganesh and Denise in the past 4 episodes and given us more of Umai's character. Maybe this would have landed better for me if they had, but as it stands, it just feels forced. With that said, I'm still curious to see how everything unfolds from here on out. We're only halfway through the season, so there's still a lot more ground left to cover. And maybe we'll learn more about Umai in the upcoming episodes, especially since she's clearly a much bigger part of Denise's story from now on. So I haven't given up hope just yet. Well, those are my thoughts on episodes 3 and 4 of Reminder. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment below and let me know your take on this pregnancy twist. But please, no spoilers for the rest of the season. And if you're enjoying these recaps, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Just Dizis with your fellow Turkish drama lovers. I'll be back soon with my breakdown of the final 4 episodes of the season. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you next time.